In the name of the one holy and living God.
Amen.
Please be seated. Put out into the deep water and let down your nets for a catch. I remember the first time I jumped off a high dive. I had gone with a friend to his family's country club. My family did not have a country club membership. I was probably 10 years old, and I felt like I was a decent swimmer, but I had never seen a diving board that high, nor had I been in a pool that deep. Left on my own, I probably would not have climbed the high dive and jumped off, but my friend was doing it, other kids were doing it, so I felt like it was actually possible. And I wanted to, even though I was afraid. So I did it. It was terrifying, but also life-giving. Now I am a parent, and we go to our neighborhood pool. There's no high dive, thank goodness, but there is a big water slide and a deep end. And I have to tell you, I was not excited to let our older kids start going down this slide and swimming in the deep end. I hovered nearby, never took my eyes off, even though there's a lifeguard. But they did it. They went down the slide, they swam by themselves, they started swimming all over, playing, touching the bottom of the deep end. They were proud of themselves and so alive. Put out into the deep water and let down your nets for a catch. Simon and his friends had apparently been out fishing all night, catching nothing. They came to shore, and there was a rabbi there, Jesus, who wanted to speak to a crowd of people that had gathered around him. So that he could speak to them without being overwhelmed on the shore, he asked Simon and his friends to take him just a bit offshore so that he can sit down and teach the people from the boat. Luke tells us that when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out in the deep water and let down your nets for a catch." Simon answered, "Master, we have worked all night long, but have caught nothing. Yet if you say so, I will let down the nets." When they had done this, they caught so many fish that their nets were beginning to break. "Put out into the deep water," Jesus told them. They really didn't want to because they were tired and discouraged, but they do, and they find their nets full. Rather than being tired at this point, they find themselves full of life, ready to follow Jesus anywhere. Howard Thurman, mystic and teacher, famously said that what the world needs are people who have come alive. What the world needs are people who have come alive. One of the ways we come alive, we Christians come alive, is by going out into the deep water with Jesus. The deep water can be scary, like the first time I jumped off that high dive, the first time swimming without floaties, the first time letting your kids go down a water slide by themselves, the first time being on a boat when you can no longer see the shore. The deep water is unpredictable. It's even worse for me when you can't see the bottom. What's down there? How far does it go? Is this safe? But it is in the deep water that we find life with Jesus. In our first reading, Isaiah has his own deep water experience. He has a vision in which he saw the Lord sitting on the throne, high and lofty. The hem of God's robe fills the temple. Seraphs are in attendance around him. They have 6 wings. With 2, they cover their faces. With 2, they cover their feet. With 2, they flew. And they say to one another, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory." These are not sweet little angels on top of a Christmas tree. These are terrifying angels, seraphs, full of power. But in this mystical experience, in this deep water experience, Isaiah realizes that the call of God is for him. The call of God is for him. The life of God is for him. And the life of God is in him. Isaiah says, "One of the seraphs flew to me holding a live coal that had been taken from the altar with a pair of tongs. The seraph touched my mouth with it and said, 'Now that this has touched your lips, Your guilt has departed, and your sin is blotted out. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And I said, Here am I, send me. Isaiah has this experience of being touched by the divine life, seeing God, encountering God face to face, and he is afraid. He feels unworthy. Just like Simon, who after his deep water experience falls down at Jesus' knees saying, Go away from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man. The seraph touches Isaiah's lips and declares him to be worthy to be the prophet of God. Jesus stands Simon up, looks him in the eyes, and says, Do not be afraid. After this, they are people who have come alive in the deep well of the Spirit. They are prophets of God. They are fishers of men. They will go where God leads them, full of the life of God, full of the life of God that cannot be touched by those around them. Even when that means, in Isaiah's case, telling people things they don't want to hear. Like, if you don't take care of the poor among you, your nation will not survive. And for Peter, even when that means risking his own life to follow Jesus. Friends, we are living in a deep water moment. Our nation is out in the deep water. Our churches are out in the deep water. And our lives are out in the deep water as the concerns of our lives, our health, our jobs, our families swirl around us. We are in a turbulent, scary place for many of us. The deep water feels uncertain. But the Lord of hosts, attended by the seraphim and all the angels, is there with us in the boat. Jesus, the firstborn of all creation, is there with us in the boat. And Jesus is telling us to let down our nets and to find in the depths of God's Spirit, in the depths of God's life, in the turbulent waters, a wellspring of life, an abundance we never thought possible, welling up inside us, untouched by the things around us. We are sent out into the deep water, but this is where we find real life. This is where we find real life in God. This is where we become a people who are truly alive. Howard Thurman said that in the stillness of quiet, if we listen, we can hear the whisper of the heart, giving strength to weakness, giving courage to fear, giving hope to despair. Out in that water, nets down, listening for God, waiting for God, we hear the whisper of God's heart to us, giving strength to our weakness, giving courage to our fear, giving hope to our despair. We let down our nets and we pull up abundance. Out of the deep water of the Spirit, we listen and we hear Jesus saying to us, as he said to Simon, Do not be afraid. Out on the deep water, we see the seraph come to us as he came to Isaiah and touch our lips, marking us worthy to proclaim God's love. My family and I will go back to the pool this summer, and probably there will be another one of our kids ready to take off the floaties and head out into the deep, and it will be scary, mostly for the dads. But the life, the joy, the laughter will be worth it. What the world needs are people who have come alive. The deep waters in which we find ourselves can be frightening, but in those depths, if we will open our heart and put down our nets and accept God's abundance, we will find a love of God broader than the measure of the mind. We will find life abundant beyond our imagining. We just have to push out from the shore, go where Jesus leads, put down our nets, and embrace the abundant, never-failing, deep well and deep love of God. Amen.
Amen.